Hi there, folks, and welcome to another lesson with me, your host, Christian Wolf, your teacher. So, this is going to be one of my last perspective lessons, and I'm going to be demonstrating more so inanimate objects in 2-point and 3-point perspective, just to show you how easy it is to noodle in these things using the basic principles that I've already taught you. Um, Nothing special going on here today. As you can see, we got a couple of cool examples that we're going to go through today. I drew these up partly, excuse me, partly through my stream here, which I'm actually streaming right now on Twitch at Christian Wolf Art. Yeah, I partly did these today and partly did these on my stream today. Well, like I said, I'm currently doing them on my stream right now. I'm just recording a segment because I apparently have nobody in the chat, so I can go nuts and teach you guys something. So, what are we looking at here, guys? What are these examples of? Are you able to tell me before I'm able to tell you? I know you know what they are. They're 2-point perspective examples. Right? Now, I've already taken the liberty of going through each of these and dropping in kind of perspective points in the background. So we're just going to look at each example. Alright, my first one is using 2-point perspective to formulate a cityscape. Alright, so buildings. Alright, inanimate objects. They're not doing too much. Pretty boring subject matter. But if we arrange them in the right composition, if we maybe tilt our horizon line, we get ourselves a really interesting perspective. Now, do you think you could do that? Do you think you could go and just copy that sketch and figure out how all that works so it all makes sense, so everything's kind of in line? I haven't drawn a single window. I haven't drawn a single X through a single surface to find a center point. I haven't done anything. I've just literally coded lines all overlapping each other to try to formulate something interesting for you to gander at. This is all random. There are buildings here from maybe a futuristic landscape, a normal landscape in a city, and then I've got stupid buildings and monolithic shapes just jumping out, all in collage with one another. As you can see, though, I've only used 2-point perspective. I have my horizon line in the back here. We know what that is, right, guys? I gave it a tilt, like I taught you in the last video. How much more interesting does a perspective become, or a scene in a panel become when you give that horizon line just the slightest tilt? Now, I went a little more extreme in my case. Now, what's another thing we're noticing here? Okay, we got a lot of vertical lines, but if you notice, and if you go to all my straight lines here, they're pretty much all butting up straight up and down with that one in the middle. Now, I made a few wonky ones there in my example, but the reason why my drawing looks the way it does is because I followed those rules that I taught you the last time. We have a flat, tilted, horizontal line, and we have a series of vertical lines going perfectly crisscross, perfectly crisscross all the way through the composition, okay? And that's what we're butting up all our vertical lines at this tilt to. And that's why all my buildings are following that tilt, alright? That's why they're not going straight up and down. Doesn't it look more interesting? I think my point has been proven, alright? So, there you go. That's one example of 2-point perspective with inanimate objects and just how interesting you can make them, okay? Here is an example of just the things you can draw. And I figured I'd use guns because you've seen my artwork and you know I like to draw sci-fi and you know, geared out mofos, right? Well, you got to be able to draw gear, and gear is nothing but essentially, gear is nothing but a series of shapes all comprised to make one thing that you recognize. So a sniper rifle, a handgun, a shotgun, you know, an AK-47, whatever. Here. Again, you can see my perspective points in the background here, my friends. This stuff is easy. You guys are going to be doing this in no time. You're going to be like, oh, that solves all my freaking problems for building objects. So look, in this perspective, I did 2 points, right? I got my points outside of the frame. This one just barely. This one a good ways, right? All my vertical lines are going straight up and down, but they're on a tilt, right? Because why? Because my horizontal line, or my, excuse me. Why are all my vertical lines on a tilt? Because my because my horizon line is on a tilt. There, I spit it out. I got it. I said it. All right, so how awesome is this, guys? So let me show you why it's so easy to draw these shapes in, okay? If I'm merely following these guidelines that I've given myself, you know, every little line that I know in this shotgun here that's going to go back to that point is going to follow the same perspective, okay? All of these. This, even though it's on a curve, okay, I'm imagining there's a straight line there, and then there's a straight line between these 2 points right here and here, okay? And then all of these lines, they're all going back, alright? They're all going back to that point, right? And because I did it in 2-point perspective, anything like the butt of the gun here, okay, that is straight up and down, that would be, with the design of it, okay, is going to be following these vertical lines that I've set that are tilted because of the horizon line, which is tilted too. Okay? And there you go. You're literally going to accentuate the little crevices and stuff on your own. You're going to do your own overlaps, okay? You're going to do the overlaps in accordance to where all this gear adds up to one another, you know, where it all fits together. I'm assuming this is a pump shotgun, some pump futuristic shotgun, and you can see the, I don't know what you call this thing. I should know because I like guns a lot. But the thing you wrap the shotgun with, this thing right here, okay? It's built off of my shotgun ever so slightly. All I did was use lines to describe that, you know? And if I take away this drawing here, you can see right here in the background, okay? Again, this is overlapping my gun. You would probably use a nice dark line to really accentuate that, and now it looks like it's chunky and it's sitting off the gun a little bit, right? Look at this. This is 2-point perspective. I did every one of these sketches in 2-point perspective, okay? Now, I have cheated a few things, but what I'm saying, with the boxes that I've taught you in the past, with the buildings right here, okay? You're just pulling and dragging and playing with these grids that you're forming for yourself, alright? You want to tilt the perspective to give yourself a little bit of a challenge. If you want to do it straight up and down, there's no problem. You can get all the same effects that I've given with these guns here. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I was saying, this whole piece here I've just articulated with lines to illustrate to you and the rest of the audience that it's wrapping around this form in behind it. And every piece of this gun is going to those 2 points of perspective, like I mentioned earlier. Okay? And if you just keep breaking it down into shapes, you're going to find that there's just one piece of 2x4 stacked with another piece of 2x4 to make up my shotgun here. It's like that entire stock is literally fitting into this area. If that makes any sense. I really hope that makes sense. I mean, this is it. This is how you freaking do it. You know? That's a shape. And you just build off of it, really. As long, you know, if you go back to that 2-point perspective drawing, you know, you can build off of a roof and create a whole vehicle off that alone. on to the next part of the lesson, okay? So again, I'm using 2-point perspective to give you vehicles. And again, I've tilted my horizon line. To give you a more interesting composition, I sketched in a little motorcycle there and like a Range Rover type of car. As you can see, both of them, I'm going to just brighten the background here a little bit. We'll drop the foreground element. And if you look there, amidst all that scratchiness, right, what do you see? There's a box, right? And we've been drawing a lot of boxes lately, haven't we, guys? So, this point that I just made a mark to, it's drawing back to that first point of perspective, right? All my vertical lines are going this way, you know? Excuse me. All my vertical lines are going straight up and down. Okay? And inside of that box, I'm formulating the motorcycle. Okay? How does that make sense? Well, if you're to chop this motorcycle into little pieces, right? Let's go with the tank here. Let's draw through the bike, alright? Hold on. Alright, if we were to draw through the bike, this would be the top of the tank here. The rest of it would wrap around and kind of go out towards that perspective point, right? And as the bottom comes around here, and we're drawing underneath everything, alright? There's a shape right here, okay? Right there. And that shape, you want to figure out that somewhere there is going back to your vanishing point, somewhere there is going back to your vanishing point, and then in that, excuse me, I'll do that other one again, a little tighter. That one's going to your vanishing point, okay? And in that, you want to create, using your vertical lines, a box, and from there, using your 2-point, or your second point of perspective, you're kind of guiding that tank into space. Does that make sense, people? Please tell me it does. Let me drop that drawing. Okay? Let's drop that drawing. Does that make sense? And then every other piece of the bike, you're going to attach the same way. You don't always have to draw through it, but it really helps to kind of break it down for you and understand it. Now, I have practice at cheating these lines, but if I practice and just kind of guide the right ones to the perspective points, I'm going to get everything I need. When I say cheating, I mean, you know, the frame of the bike. Maybe it doesn't add up exactly, perfectly vertical with these lines that I've guided for myself. You know, when you look at the frame of a bike, there's like a holster for the tank and a lot of the guts in the front of the bike, and it kind of juts out at a very slight angle, right? And then the bottom of the bike, it's kind of like a horse shape, right? The frame. Anyways, that's what's going on right here. So how do you draw that angle, right? It doesn't follow straight up and down with the vertical lines. That's where you can cheat it. See? That's all I did. I just angled out those lines. And if I take this away and bring back my drawing, you'll notice. Let's look at just the drawing, okay? I'll draw over top of that. All these lines, okay? They're all going that way. Alright? Here, 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 there. You see that? Now go watch Jung Ji and listen to him tell you about it. This is your fray lines, guys. This is everything. And I'm telling you, in more cases than not, same with the Range Rover in the back, okay? I use the exact same perspective. Excuse me. I use the exact same perspective to draw both of these. Okay. And then all these lines over here, they're racing back to that other point, right? We know this now, right? Excuse me. Am I not drilling this stuff inside your head every time we talk, every time you tune in? That's what it's all about, over and over and over and over until it makes sense, until you think it makes sense, and then you try it again and it doesn't make sense, and then you try it again and it does make sense, and you try it over and over and over and over and over, and it never ever stops, okay? And that is illustration for you. So there you go. Look what you can do with 2-point perspective. You can draw vehicles in an interesting way. You can draw guns in an interesting way. And you can draw cityscapes. Okay? Pretty cool. And like the last time, I wanted to give you, an extra little bit of something on top of there. So to add to the examples of perspective in use, let's go with this little thing I prepared for you. We all recognize that, right? Or at least my American audience would. Okay, what have I drawn here? Do you recognize it? Is it 2-point perspective? If not, it must be 3, right? And it definitely is, okay? No surprises there. So, with the 3rd-point perspective, again, I've given you an example of a tilted horizon line, which I really want to drill into you because I want to see you use it in your work and not be so scared of it, okay? Alright, so that's a tilted horizon line if we've ever seen one. We've been working with them now for a couple of videos. We're doing 3-point perspective. We've got number 3 way up there, right? And it's drawn straight down, right, to our horizon line. We've got point number 2 over here. We got point number 1 over here. They are drawing up these lines right here to make that base that the Statue of Liberty is standing on, right? Now, or the controversy of this would be that the Statue of Liberty is not a, well, it's an inanimate object, but it is of a human being, right? So maybe you're asking yourself at this point, Christian, are you trying to tell us that you can draw human beings in perspective as well? And my friends, I am. And am I using the most hard perspective grid to understand that with? Yes. But to make today's lesson easy, okay, and just like I said, this is an extra tidbit at the end of the lesson, the main point of this example, alright, since I've got all this crap going on here, I don't want to overload you. What I've done here is, this is an example of how we're going to shift everything that we've been learning so far, okay? We're still going to call the horizon line, okay? Because I always want you to think of it that way, because it's proper. But this horizon line is also something else very important here. Now, where are all my people in this composition, okay? They're all at the bottom. They're all looking up. They're all doing their thing at the bottom of the composition. Where are all of their heads? Okay, you can see stick figures. You can see some scratches in there to indicate people standing in the distance. Where are all their heads? They're all on the horizon line, okay? This is also the eye line, alright? This is a trick a lot of comic book artists will use when they're doing shots with a multitude of people in them. People talking to each other, people busy in a crowd. This is a cheap trick that will allow you to draw a whole lot of people. You can get away with drawing little tiny indentations of what would be a human body in the background, like I have here with the stick figures, and it all reads the same. All I've done with this trick is simply put every single character's head on the horizon line. or the eye line, okay? And it doesn't have to be exact, but what you want to generally do is keep all of their heads, okay, on that line. Now, I watched a David Finch video last night. David Finch and Marzullo. I think that was the other guy. Both of them were reviewing young comic book artists or young aspiring artists and their portfolios. And I sat there for 4.5 hours or 3 hours or whatever the stream was. And I did not hear them mention this tip once to any of the people that were having trouble with their portfolio pieces, especially the people that were submitting sequential art. And some of those people definitely had panels with people in them, multiple people in them. And David and the other guy didn't even mention this little trick, okay? This is like, to me, I learned this when I was 10 years old, okay? 10 years old. And it made sense to me then. So, take this one and run with it. If you're ever doing shots like this when you're making your comic book, drop all your characters' eyes and heads on the same horizon line, okay? Just try it. You don't even have to draw a background. Just make small people in the background with their heads on the same line, right? And make people in the foreground. And right up close with bigger heads, just like I've done in this sketch here. Let's push that up a little bit so you can see that. Boom. What an easy effect, right? You could pull this off with stick figures and make your stick figures 10 times more interesting. And as I end this video, that's what I want to say is when you tune in next time for a lesson, that's what we'll be segueing into, is drawing the human form, okay, in perspective, and also teaching you bits about how to construct the body, and getting you on your way there to putting all the pieces together. Okay, we're gonna go in baby steps, people. That's the only way you'll learn. So keep showing up for your lessons, and I promise you'll frickin' learn something. All right. Follow me on Instagram, Reddit, and Twitch, all at Christian Wolf Art. If you haven't subscribed to me here on YouTube yet, please hit the subscribe button, okay? Like and comment on the videos. Let me know if these videos are making any sense to you and if you're learning anything from them. And by all means, share them with your friends, okay? Let me know what else I could touch on, because I've pretty much touched on everything in my short career. And well, this is putting it all to the test, making sure it makes sense to you, to make sure it makes sense to me, so that all of our work reads as professional as possible. Okay? Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.